Hello and welcome to the garden. So I am stood in front of some really raggedy looking garlic, and once again it's been really badly affected by rust outdoors, and these are in a shocking state, so there's absolutely no point in me leaving them in the ground. In fact, I could have lifted them a couple of weeks ago. I don't think they've been doing an awful lot. They probably haven't enjoyed the really dry weather. I don't tend to water too much outdoors, just a few things that really need it, but it has been really dry here for some weeks, and these are rusty and horrible. So I'm going to lift them. Hopefully we still have some bulbs down there, and I'll see what I'm going to get. Now, this is not my only planting of garlic. I've got another crop in the polytunnel in and amongst the tomatoes. I'll give you a quick look at that. I don't know, that there's maybe just a touch of rust on those. They've got a little bit more growing they can do, so I'm going to leave those until they've gone as far as they can sensibly do, but this lot are done for. Got some nice tomatoes coming here soon, but here's the garlic in between. Reasonable diameter to that stem. They don't look too bad. They're not without rust. There is rust, for example, on this leaf here. This is one of the oldest leaves, and what you can do when you see some like that, you can take that leaf off, because that rust is just going to spread, and it's going to spread very quickly. But you can see there's rust on this old leaf as well. So it's not going to be too long before these plants succumb to the rust. It is persistent stuff. However, you can see that there's still lots of good green foliage, and these can keep going for at least some weeks yet, and hopefully produce some bigger bulbs for me. I think these went in a little bit later than those I put outdoors. I can't quite remember, but I think they went in a little bit later. But I tend to get the best crop from those in the polytunnel. It gets cold enough through the winter for the cloves to split properly. Cold is really important for garlic. If it doesn't get cold, the cloves don't tend to split properly. You don't get good bulbs, but it gets cold enough in here for that to happen. But then the growing conditions are then better through the early part of the spring, and yeah, I mean, these are looking pretty good. So a few weeks longer before the rust will take these out, but when it starts, it can spread ever so quickly. Right, so I'm going to get the trowel down under these. I plant them reasonably deep, so I mean, they should be planted deep. I'll get the trowel down under the bulbs. You never want to just tug them. It's a really bad idea. Oh, and we've got really small bulbs. That is not good. Yeah, the rust has taken these out a bit too early, I think. Let's have a look at some more, and hopefully some of these will be better. Nope, that is even smaller, I think. Well, that's disappointing. It's a great smell here. Oh, that one's a little bit better. These are not great bulbs in terms of size, but probably have helped if I'd given them a bit more water. But I am quite mean with it. You know, there is a wonderful smell, and this particular variety happens to have quite large cloves, so there might not be so many of them in the bulb, but they will at least be a very good size for the kitchen. I mean, that's a great big clove, so it'll be okay. The ones in the polytunnel, I hope, are going to be much better. I'm not finding any big ones here at all. Let's have a look at these. No, they're all the same. Yeah, a little bit disappointing, that, I must confess. But this was, the outdoor crop is, it's always a little bit dodgy, and it's the one under cover that I rely on, and I've got, I don't know how many bulbs I've got in there, but dozens of them, so I'm sure we're going to get much better bulbs. Yeah, this is a really small one from the undercover crop. I don't do much with them, I just brush off the worst of the soil, and that's it. They can sit in the crates there and dry. Well, it's a little bit better. Yeah, that one's not too bad actually. Well, they're not bad, I suppose, but I'm definitely not winning any prizes for these. The bulbs are all a bit on the small side. However, they've been taken out a little bit early by the extensive rust here. I mean, compared to those in the polytunnels, you can see these are absolutely covered in it. Horrible mess. And I'm sure they could have benefited from a little bit more watering, but as I said, I don't tend to water too much outdoors if I can avoid it. Still, these are serviceable bulbs, and if you're troubled by rust and it's taking out the plants a bit early, it's always a good idea to get them planted early, so sometime in the late autumn, or late autumn, somewhere then, rather than in the spring. Then they've got, you know, a lot, they'll get going before the winter really arrives. They'll have the cold of winter that'll help them to divide nicely, and then they'll have the whole of that spring to grow on. So I think you've got the better chance than with a spring planting bulb. And then it's about the variety. You want one that bulbs up early. So if you plant a late variety, it's got to survive through all that rust before it starts to really produce a decent bulb. And certainly outdoors here, it would be silly if I planted a late variety. But then also, if you look for a variety where, regardless of the bulb size, it produces large individual cloves, that is so much better than getting a small bulb with a gazillion cloves that are all a stupid little size and a pain in the kitchen. So this one here, regardless of the bulb size, the cloves are really big. So that's what I want in the kitchen. I use tons of garlic. I do not want to be faffing around with lots of little tiny little cloves when I can have a handful of juicy fat ones instead. But anyway, it is admittedly a little bit disappointing. I was hoping for better bulbs than that, but still better than supermarket garlic, so I'm not complaining too much. And the main crop is in the polytunnel, and hopefully we'll get some bigger bulbs in there. The growing conditions have been better, so hopefully, if the rust doesn't take them out too soon, it's just starting, but if it gives them some more weeks to develop, I think they will be great. But anyway, that is all for this video. Thanks ever so much for watching, and bye for now.